Hey everybody, welcome to Wine Wednesday with the Whisperer. Hope you guys are all doing fantastic tonight. I actually have a new microphone. The headset's still kind of in the works, but you can't hear me at all? You guys tell me if you can hear me real quick.
Yes.
Okay, I'm told I'm heard, so yay me. There I am, we're just delayed. Okay. Hey, Tanks and Updates, what's up?
It's very good audio, actually.
Alright, anyways, I need to know also if you can hear the folks in the chat, if anybody wants to join. We're kind of testing out the old microphone tonight, in addition to talking about treating seahorses and fish and how to know when they're sick and, you know, what symptoms tell you that they're sick and what you do about it. I want to hear from you guys what you do, and I'll kind of share some of the things that I notice and what I do. So anyhow, kind of an open chat, and let me really quickly get that link up there for anyone who would like to join. One moment. Sorry. This will just take a sec. And again, the line seahorses have never been better ones yellow. I don't know what that means. Oh, you mean Lucy's pretty beautiful seahorses? They are beautiful. Hey, Luce, if you can, say something just really quick just to make sure that everybody in the audience can hear joiners. If you're able. If you're not, that's okay.
1 2 1 2.
Can y'all hear Lucy's 1 2 1 2? All right, that's what we need to know. And now I'm going to put up a link and anybody can join. I've been hard at work on the old website, so sorry I've been kind of amiss, but I did make it to Reef Dude Stream. I did make it to Dave's last week. I'm making my rounds now. Yay me. All right. Let's see. Trying to give you guys a link and then I'll get to chit-chatting. And oh, beautiful baby in the house. Is she sick? I think Lucy said she was sick, so no more mine. All right.
No, it's my girl who is not very well.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm mixing up the babies. I can't really see who I'm talking to. All right. All right, guys. That should be the link there in the description if you would like to join, maybe, if it goes through. And then we'll get going. But I just wanted to make sure audio was working. Hey to everybody on Facebook. Hey to everybody in YouTube. What's up? What's up? And if I could get this to go through. Oh, you know what? Well, this would be a great question for someone like Mr. Dave. It's telling me that the link is too long. And I'm not sure what to do about that. That's not the right link. Hey, don't use that link, y'all. That's the wrong link. Hang on, let me get rid of that. Remove that. Sorry. Okay. So, let's try this again. Sorry, guys. We're playing with new equipment tonight, so give me some slack here. All right. So there we go. And there we go. Now, there we have it. You should be able to join the chat. Let me know if I'm too loud or anything, because I got this purdy full. I'll show you guys really quickly. I feel so professional, I'm telling you. I got this really cool, ignore the coats microphone though. Moving on up, you know. Just kidding. Anyways, all right. Okay, so getting to the point for tonight. I thought we would chit-chat. I was hoping that some people would join in. If you happen to join in, great. But I was wanting to hear what you guys do when you think your seahorse or your fish, could be a reef tank, it's fine, what you do when you think that they're sick. What symptoms make you think that they're sick, and then what you do. Because I get so many questions on the seahorsewhisperer.com and Lucy and I on the Facebook page about, well, I think my seahorse is sick because of this. Or what should I do about this fish when this? And so I just thought we'd chat about it, see if anybody wanted to come in and chat about that. So feel free to join if you want. With seahorses, Lucy, you can pipe up anytime and give your opinion. And oh wait, let me put your beautiful tank up since we're displaying here. So we'll get to watch Lucy's beautiful tank as we talk. Yay. That's what I'm talking about, right? Okay. So anyways, and I am curious to hear from you, Lucy, if you get the opportunity to talk, but it's okay if you don't. But I'm curious to hear what makes you think when your seahorses are sick. Because I particularly have like female seahorses that will go into a corner and act like something's wrong and get all weird and not eat right and not come out to eat like they usually do. And I'll get super worried about it and think, oh no, there's something wrong. And then they were just, making eggs or whatever, and they go court and everything's fine. Or with males, certain things in the tank change, the parameters change, and all of a sudden they'll be acting all pouty. And I'm not sure a lot of the time whether or not to treat, what to do. So, and I'm getting distracted by the beautiful tank, Lucy. But, Lucy, I'm curious, as I get going here, you can just talk too if you're able, and if you're not, it's okay. But, and who's joined? Hello, whoever's joined.
Hey.
Tanks and updates? Okay.
Easy.
All right. Well, if you have a question or comment to contribute, I would love.
There's the mail.
What?
I think one of the most important things.
Actually, the yellow one, my favorite. Where's he?
Okay.
Who's talking?
I don't know. I think he joined
Yeah. I actually
Okay.
drained the whole tank and cleaned it with vinegar, so it looks more clean because there's certain
Okay.
stuff.
Hang on.
So I cleaned it. Okay.
Okay. All right. Tanks and updates. You can feel free to join if you'd like, but you gotta mute your whatever else you're doing because we can't. It's very confusing when we can't tell what's going on. All right. So Lucy. Anyways, what are the first things you notice that make you think your seahorses are under the weather?
Well, I think it's very important to observe and to see if anything is any seahorse is acting wrongly,
Mm-hmm.
like not as usual, like not eating enough, not eating or hiding, scratching, breathing too fast, having weird colors.
Right. Well, and that's the big problem is that seahorses change colors so often anyways. For someone new, like you and I might know, oh, well, they're just turning white because they're getting frisky, or they're just mad because I took out something that they really like to hitch on or whatever. Or they got in a fight with their, sibling seahorse. But for somebody brand new coming in, they see a seahorse turn a totally different color, or they see the seahorse not rushing out to get the food, and they freak out. So, I mean, do you have any tips for anyone as to how to determine whether or not the seahorse is sick or if it's just pouting?
Just watch frequently your seahorse behavior. You will. Some are shy, some are not. For example, the yellow one is super active, and if he's hiding, it means something is wrong.
So you just get to know your seahorse, right? I mean, you get to know him. Go ahead.
And if something is right, you will see it right away.
How are they doing, by the way? They look pretty darn happy. I saw you post a video the other day where they were just in and out of the macro and just having the time of their lives. They really love that tank.
Yeah, they're really active all day long.
It's beautiful.
Now,
Go ahead.
Now they don't really understand because normally the light is shut at this hour. So they might ask what's going on.
So they're saying, "What's up? Do we get to eat again? What's up?"
The funny thing, these two males are reaching side by side, and usually it doesn't happen. So
you said that the males are side by side, and that doesn't usually.
It's not usual.
Really? Do they usually fight?
Not really, because one is very submissive to the dark one is very submissive to the yellow one usually, and actually the dark one is the orange one on my profile picture.
And so okay, there we go. That's a great question right there. Do you think that he turned darker just because he felt like it, or because it's more of the submissive color, or? I mean, he's not sick, so,
No.
I mean, and how do you know that? Just because he keeps eating well and things like that?
Yeah, and usually when it's time to go to bed, it's darker, and when the other come by and annoy him, it's darker too. So
Absolutely.
It's just blending with the wood he's itching on.
Yes, absolutely. And your point about them getting darker and lighter in the morning or in the evening, absolutely. I go up to the tank, and when I first turn the lights on in the morning, I can't believe the colors that the seahorses are. Some of them look clear. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And then they change throughout the day. So pretty cool. But I just I thought maybe if some folks joined, and if they don't, that's fine. But it's interesting how many questions we get asking, is my seahorse sick because of the fact that it's doing this, that, or the other. And in addition to observing, as you mentioned, the first thing that I would say to do anytime the seahorse starts acting differently, or fish for that matter, it doesn't matter what kind of tank you're talking about, the first thing I always do is check the water, check the parameters, test the tank. Because typically, if it's not a brand new tank, or if nothing has changed, then something's either going on with the water, or, it could be so many things. It could be that they've got a tank mate picking on them, or it could be so many things. But always testing the water is the first step to make sure that there's not something going on that we can't see, Have you ever had an experience, Lucy, where you found out something was wrong with the tank, and the seahorses actually told you by acting upset?
No, because I'm crazy about water change, so I prevent any problem by doing frequent large water change. So even if I have a problem with an equipment or whatever, it gives me time to avoid any problem, in fact.
Well, and that's great advice. That's, I would say, personally, number 2, if you think your seahorse or fish is sick, number 1, test your water. Number 2, I would say do a water change, or do some maintenance on the tank, or do something to make sure that everything's in balance. Because, as I said, typically it means something's out of balance. And hi, Tina's Reef. We're talking about how you can tell if your fish is sick or not, and what you do when you think your fish is sick. Feel free to jump in. We're just chatting. If we go off on a tangent, it's cool. In fact, we already have, because we're talking and looking at Lucy's beautiful seahorse tank. So, what's the big? I think I've asked you this before, but is the big white thing, is that real?
On the left?
Yes.
No, it's a fake Gorgonian.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. Your left is my right now. What?
Yeah, okay. So I just ordered some new fake urethane corals from Ocean Aquaria.
Okay.
So the big sponge in the middle that look ridiculous because it's too big for the tank is from Ocean Aquaria. The Gorgonian also, and I have a few other pieces that I put in the juvenile tank also.
Well, I think they look great, personally, but
You want to see the juvenile tank?
Yes, I was actually, I did, I just, we are going to go through some tips and tricks to see if your seahorse or fish is sick, but I want to see the juveniles. Please show us the juveniles. And tanks and updates, just to let you know, no problem with you. I added you, I put out the link, you joined the link, and then we could hear you talking about something totally, we could hear you talking, but it wasn't to us. So I did eject because we didn't know what you were saying. So I'm sorry. All right, let's talk juveniles. Look at all of them. Boy, they sure like that plant, don't they? Oh no, they're all over. How many are there now?
220 exactly.
Oh my gosh. 220. And they're so big now. How are you keeping up with that? Are you like doing huge? Yeah. How many are you doing?
I change like 15 gallons in the morning and 10 to 15 gallons in the evening. I clean canister every day, almost.
Wow. And I bet it's dirty as heck. Oh my gosh. What are they feeding right now?
Oh, my this. Wait a little bit, I'm gonna put them a last meal. Okay?
Okay, absolutely. And are they all the same batch? They're all the same batch, aren't they? Or are they two different batches? Oh, she was telling me, wait a minute, like really wait a minute. Okay. All right. Well then. All right. So anyhow, as I was saying before, we get a lot of questions about, I think my seahorse is sick, or I see a lot of talk about, fish illnesses and stuff. I've already talked endlessly about quarantine. I do have a video series coming out, kind of walking through the steps of the, first week with seahorses and quarantine and all that. But we've already talked about quarantine a lot, whether you choose to do it or not, and you get used to your seahorse. And we're talking today about after you're used to your seahorse, and then they start acting funny. When they start acting funny, the symptoms that I typically see, and we're talking seahorses now, but they'll start hiding in the corners. They'll stop approaching for food as they usually do. If they start, just not eating in the same way, not being as ready to eat. And we're getting ready to see. Go ahead, Lucy. We're watching. We'll take a break. All frozen mices. Wow, look at them all. Oh my gosh. Just crazy. So beautiful.
It's like a
snowball. A snowball. And it'll all be gone here in a minute. Look at them all. Wow. Oh, I forgot to hit play here, guys. Sorry. There we go. That is just the most, to me, that is like topic. We always get distracted by Lucy's gorgeous seahorses. And so we're going to keep talking about them. But I do want to know, like, even in your reef tanks, if you have a fish acting funny, what makes you think they're, either sick or not, and how do you deal with it, that kind of thing. I'd love to hear any experiences you guys have had. All in the same tank. It's so cool.
Yeah. And even if you look at the markings...
For rectus, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I thought. And I see a bunch with Siri, too. So cool.
Yeah.
I want a couple of them, just to let you know.
Okay.
That big one in the middle that's, like, staring at us. Yeah, that one's
one?
Yes. I like him.
I call him double H because he has 2 H in the marking on the back.
I love it. And Tina hasn't had any fish. I can't talk tonight. Any sick fish in a year. You quarantine everything. High five. I mean, I meant high five, but yeah, that's kind of the trick to it. Absolutely. I noticed too, Lucy. I have a question for you about the food. Do you rinse your mysis shrimp?
Yeah, of course, of course.
Well, it was so fascinating to me. I was on Reef Dude's stream right before I came here. I watched a little bit of it before I, started getting this ready. And they were talking about how, coral people don't rinse their foods because they like all those little tidbits for the coral. And I was like, yeah, now seahorse people, it's just different. We can't have...
That produce so many organic matter first. And they don't feed like 3, 4... this juvenile, I feed them every 2 hours. So if I wasn't rinsing the mysis with all the already bioload due to the number of seahorse and everything, no way.
Right. And I think, I used to think that was a big part of it, just the fact that we feed seahorses so much. But the thing is that Reef Dudes and the others were saying that they might feed their coral tanks 3 times a day too. But I think it's got to do with they've got the coral eating up the food. All those little tidbits. We don't have that coral doing that.
Yeah.
So, but, yeah. And Lisa said, freshwater tanks, you've experienced sick fish, but none in salt. You notice something's off and take it out to quarantine and observe and see what you see before you treat. Very good advice. Very good advice. It's kind of different with seahorses than it is with reef fish, because with reef fish, people are usually looking for like the flashing or the if a reef fish turns a dark color, that's a big, huge no-no. And Lucy, please feel free to keep showing us. I wasn't trying to distract from that. I'm just kind of keeping the convo going. But anyhow, with reef fish, correct me if I'm wrong, but in my reef tank, if the fish start getting darker or stop eating, then that's how I know that they're sick. With seahorses, color can't always be a way to determine whether they're sick, but definitely attitude and actions. Definitely that. So, and hey, Chimp, what's up? Chimp, we're just in here.
To show you, to show you, there is no food anymore in the tank. It's all gone.
And how long was that? Did we time it? Was it
no.
5 minutes and they're gone? All that food's gone?
I don't know. It's gone. There is nothing left.
Look at that. And you guys got to think, too, it's all coming out. So that's why we got to rinse food and keep a clean tank. But, hey, Chimp, I put a link up. I can put another one if you feel like it. But we're just kind of chit-chatting tonight. I tried to make a topic, but, we'll talk about whatever you guys want. But I do get a lot of people asking about what to do when the fish is sick, and we've hammered that quarantine thing into the ground, keep talking about it. And so, anyways, I was just curious about your guys' experiences and what you do when you think the fish is sick. Lisa shared what kind of treatments you use and things like that. If we had anybody specifically come in right now and ask a question about their sick seahorse, is what I was kind of hoping, then we could, talk more about those specific things. But other than that, I'm just kind of chit-chatting. Hey, Ricky. And Indonesian Reefers. Hey, Ricky, welcome. Welcome. We had an Indonesian talk the other day, so glad to see you. Lisa's in the midst of moving, 3 more days. Oh no. Well, I'm glad you've come. Come on in the stream if you feel like it. We're really just chit-chatting tonight. I had a guest lined up, but I kind of short noticed it, so she'll probably be next week. But if you don't want to, that's fine too. And I'm glad. I hope you're moving up. And I hope you're doing videos to show us how you move the tanks, because, oh my goodness, moving is the worst, in my opinion. I can't stand moving fish tanks. That's like the worst thing in the world to me. But anyhow, so basically, so far, we have a whole bunch of people that quarantine their fish and seahorses and never have sick illnesses. So great topic. Yay. Good job, Kelly. But just to go on with what I was saying earlier, if you get to know your seahorse or fish and you notice them start to have problems, always check your parameters, do a water change, or, you know, do what you have to do to correct the maintenance. As Lucy described in showing us her big seahorse tank, that she has to do crazy maintenance to keep it up. And she knows right away if there's a problem because they tell you. The fish will tell you if there's a problem, for sure. And Lisa's doing a move video. Cool. Oh, it's really loud where you're at. No problem, no problem. No worries. And hello on Facebook to the people watching. I do see you saying hello. And yeah, we're just kind of chit-chatting tonight. So, whatever. But, and you guys all talk in the comments and I want to get into your conversation. But, okay, so let's see. What else can I say about sick fish? In my reef tank, I have, and I've had to redo the reef tank completely. The Vibrant did not work fast enough for me. You guys will see that video come out soon enough. But the bottom line is, in my reef tank, my clowns are superheroes that will never get sick or die. But I'm pretty sure that they're carriers of something because any other fish that I put in that tank, I have trouble with. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think about that one too. And now I'm just kind of rambling on and on. Good times. I'm reading the comments. Sorry guys. Honestly, I wasn't really in the mood to stream tonight, but I wanted to get up here. Ray always gives me a hard time if I don't get on here, and then when I do, he's not here. Go figure. But we got to see Lucy's cool tank, so that's good. And Lucy, can you think of anything else to say? Like, I was hoping that someone would come in and talk about, you know, what they think is going on with their seahorse or fish, and ask a question about what to do, but everybody's apparently busy. So,
but I think one of the best things to do is to prevent any illness by having good maintenance and doing. I do like Ray. I think Ray do the same. He do frequent large water change and he don't have problem.
Right.
So it's a way I've choose to manage it to prevent any problem.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. You know, and in my reef tank, I didn't do water changes, but I had it so stably balanced at that time that I didn't have to. And honestly, it got to a point where if I did too big of a water change, it would mess up the balance. So, but that's a whole different topic. So since we're pretty much just chatting about seahorses tonight, I'm trying to think. You know what's interesting to me is that as breeders have gotten better, and as hobbyists have learned more, and as we've done more of these streams and videos and stuff, I've not noticed as many sick seahorses being talked about. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that there's not as many?
From where?
Just like on Facebook or on our questions, the questions we get on the messenger and stuff. Not as many people are coming and saying that they're having trouble. I just think that's good. Good sign.
Yeah. But maybe people don't see it, and usually when they see it, it's too late most of the time, because they don't look enough their tongue. They don't observe it enough. And when they manage to see something wrong, most of the time it's too late.
Right. Very true. Very true.
Because when you post about a sick seahorse, it's in a state that obviously it's not good at all. You can see the seahorses have a problem. There is no doubt. And usually people wait, and then they come and say, "Oh, what's wrong with my seahorse? He's not eating anymore."
Right.
And most of the time, if you ask, they will say you it's been a few days since they don't eat and since they are weird and they have discoloration and stuff like that. Shh, tais-toi. Tiens. So I think it's mostly because of that, because people are not able to see the early stage of discomfort and just before the first symptoms, because usually when you see clearly symptoms, it's most of the time a little bit late or too late.
Right. And when you say symptoms, what you're talking about is the not eating as much, turning dark colors, hiding.
Having already bacterial infections, so skin lesions, stuff like that.
And I mean, a lot of that, as Lucy pointed out, can be avoided by, first of all, buying from a reputable breeder or facility, looking at these things before you buy, getting to know the seahorses, and then once you get to know them, you'll be able to tell when there's a problem, as she said. Because, yeah, I mean, if my seahorses don't rush the gate, then I know something's up. And so what other things can you think of that people should watch out for? Because I do get that everybody isn't as in love with seahorses as people like us are. So some people get their seahorses and they like them, but it's not like an obsession. They're not like constantly caring for seahorses. Or even in a reef tank. Some people get a reef tank, set it up, and they take care of it, but they might not notice for a few days that a fish isn't coming out and, eating regularly. So I don't know what other advice to give as far as, that, except for what you said, is that pay attention. You've got to look to know. There's no other way. I had a wrasse disappear on me for a while, but...
I have quite a good one. Is what I've seen is most of the seahorse owner, all level mixed together, is I see that most of the seahorse are underweighted. They are not fed enough. So, as you know, immune system is linked to feeding and everything. So basically, a seahorse who is not fed enough will most likely become sick easily.
I could not agree with you more. That is a great point. Thank you for bringing it up. That's the other thing is I'm sitting here focusing on what to do once you think something's wrong with the seahorse. But what Lucy keeps bringing us back to is that prevention is like the key. Having good husbandry, making sure that the aquarium is in tip-top shape and doing your water changes and keeping it clean and keeping those organics low by doing things like rinsing food and things like that in a seahorse tank, and feeding properly, making sure that you're feeding enough and that the seahorses are, nice and fat. They won't get sick as easily, even if there is a problem, if they're eating right. And Ray's made that point quite. Oh, hi, Ray. That's okay that you can't come tonight. No big deal. I just mentioned you. But Ray, every time Ray comes on, he talks about the fact that, he doesn't think... It's okay. Baby Zerolo is okay. But, anymore, we've gotten to the point where people are saying it's okay to feed seahorses like once or twice a day. And that's just, not... I personally don't agree with that. I feed my seahorses 3 to 4 times a day, and, they stay healthy. And so I think there's a good correlation between the people who don't feed as much and have thin seahorses and then have problems. So, prevention, make sure that you're learning, taking care of the tank the way that it's supposed to be taken care of, doing the water changes, keeping the, organics low, feeding properly, getting them nice and fat. Probiotics is another whole different subject that we could get into if anybody wanted to, or I could do it on a video on the side. But, a lot of people are now using probiotics also in the aquarium to prevent any kind of problems. It's more of a preventative kind of measure. And, I use probiotics, so it works for me, I suppose I should say. So, yes, I agree, Lucy. Prevention all the way, and then you won't have to deal with the problems that people used to have to deal with or do still deal with. And
another thing to take into consideration is stress. If you make your seahorse be used to deal with loud noise, a lot of movement, bright light, and stuff like that, they will be most likely sick.
I'm sorry, I missed the last part. You said stress and what?
If you make your seahorse be kind of stress-proof, they will not. You will help them to. I don't know how to explain it.
They have better immunity. They won't get as many.
Right.
They won't have as many problems if you prepare them. Now, how do you prepare them? Just by fattening them up and by what?
You can, for example, each time you come feeding them, you can tap pretty hard on the glass so it makes a lot of vibration. But instead of be afraid of it, they will associate it with food and with your presence. So they won't be afraid anymore, but they will be excited and happy to come, for example.
I've always wondered why you did that. I seriously have always, I don't think we ever talked, if we talked about it, I forgot. I had no idea that that's why you tapped on the glass. I've always thought, why is she doing that? I've always heard that's bad. But that's kind of actually really a smart thing. You're training your seahorses.
You're doing a party and you have some friends that come with their kids, and kids are kids, they will tap on the glass. And if your seahorses are in a very quiet place with not much people going through, no more movement, no noise, they will be super stressed because suddenly there is a lot of people that come and move around the tank and tap the glass and everything.
I get it. No, I mean, I think it's a great thing.
What? Maybe 2 days later they will get sick.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, that's absolutely true. Because, typically, we used to say, well, not we, but it used to be said, make sure you're putting a seahorse tank in an area that's low traffic and make sure that it's, low flow and all calm and cool and collected. And it's just so different now. Now we're like, no, put them out where they're going to get used to the kids running through, where they're going to get used to, it's kind of funny. But, I mean, and that's the whole, we go straight back to captive bred seahorses and the fact that when you get captive bred seahorses, you're getting seahorses that have been in an aquarium environment their whole lives. They haven't, but I do follow what you're saying, and I do agree. And I think it's kind of cool. I may start having to tap on my glass. Now, I did think that did something else to them. I'd have to look it up, but I thought that tapping on the glass did something to fish. I can't remember. I'll have to look it up later. But if it's just that it startles them, then your whole theory makes sense. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, but it works. It works for other species too.
Yeah.
And also, when you are raising fry, if they are used to be manipulated very often, if you do tongue switch, stuff like that on a regular basis, they are absolutely used to this, and they don't stress anymore.
Yeah, I mean, and you're hearing from someone who literally just showed you a huge tank of 200 some seahorses doing fabulously. So her advice is valid. I mean, preparing the seahorse, I couldn't agree more. In my own seahorse breeding experiences, a lot of times when I would be too cautious and keep things too clean, then, they wouldn't do as well, because when you get them used to what they're going to be in a tank somewhere else, I mean, you have to prepare them for that. So I get what you're saying. I agree. And Tina's Reef, you said that your coal tang has been missing for a few days. It was happy and eating fine. Went to feed them on Monday, and he's just gone. Oh, no. I'm so sorry. I hate hearing that. That's terrible. I don't know what to say about it, but that's really awful. Have you checked have you checked the sump? If you have a sump, because I have found my fish in the sump many, many times, seriously. The no body thing, unless you have one kick butt cleanup crew, I'm kind of surprised that it's just gone. I would have to say, unfortunately, maybe walk around the tank and make sure there's it's not on the floor anywhere, it's not in the sump, it's not stuck anywhere. I found a seahorse in an overflow box one day, so, these things do happen, but, yeah. I'm sorry to hear that he's missing. I hope he turns up. And I don't know. It's hard, guys. It's hard to keep track of all these fish, but at least you noticed that he was missing right away. And Luce, I am going to try to keep this one short and sweet tonight. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we need to say. Prevent everything. Make your seahorses and fish strong by not babying them, and pay attention to them. Make sure that your water quality is up to par. Pay attention to the fish so that you know when they're sick, if they're sick, and doing things ahead of time can make sure they don't get sick. What else, Luz? Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was a little bit outside, and my son locked me out outside, and then we succeed to put, I have this kind of stuff to occult the light that you turn, it's kind of flat stuff, I don't know the word in English, and I don't know how he managed to block that stuff on the handle of the door too, so I had quite a hard time to come inside.
Jeez. Well, you didn't miss anything. I was just sitting here rambling. Didn't have anything huge to say. Sorry, guys.
But seriously, handling seahorse fry since the birth and get them used to be manipulated and everything. I can take one in the hand, annoy him a little bit, feed them right after, and he will feed immediately. Mm-hmm. So I think it might play a role in the immune system as they don't stress much.
Right.
So,
absolutely. I mean, you're conditioning them is the bottom line.
Yeah, exactly.
You're conditioning them. Go ahead.
Basically, it's what I was doing when I was raising freshwater fish that I was showing. So I had to travel with them in other countries, mm-hmm. and they had to be stress-proof because if they weren't displaying good, they were eliminated from the show. So you have to have fish that don't stress.
Right. They can look pretty in the midst of anything. Gotcha.
Yeah, because they have to, for example, they have to take a 10 hours flight, and then you have to go to the hotel, and then you have to go to the show. So you can imagine it's very stressful for the fish.
Oh my gosh.
And then you have to acclimate them to new water and everything. And if they are stressed, you're done. You came for nothing,
Yeah. No, I'm listening. I'm reading the comments too. Sorry. But yeah, no, I got you. I'm curious what Ray thinks about that. I'm curious, Ray, if you are watching still, because you're talking to Tina, so I know you are. I'm curious what you think about that, because I personally agree that conditioning the fish for aquarium life and conditioning fish in the way that Lucy's describing is probably a very good idea. But I'm curious what you think about it. And in the comments, I'm seeing that Tina, you tore apart the tank. Hang on back filtration, so no sump. And Ray said that if the tank is really mature, it's quite possible for the micro life in the tank to completely devour the fish in a couple days. True, that's what I said. Like if there's some huge cleanup crew or the bacteria is so, if it's very mature, sure, but I don't know. Yeah, and Tina said it's not that mature, not much of a cleanup crew, and it's not, Tina, the tank's not that old, is it? Because that plays a big part too, because I know that I know that Ray is probably referring also to, you know, like mature can mean it doesn't just have to be cleanup crew. It can be the different strains of bacteria, a good bacterial foundation. And I'm talking about the good stuff, but still it can, you know, a fish can be gone pretty darn quick if you have a really mature tank, but I don't think you do. So, anyways, I'm sorry, Lucy, back to what we were saying. Condition the fish, yes, absolutely. And I'm trying to relate to like reef folks, because I know I see a lot of streams, a lot of comments, a lot of talks about sick fish in reef tanks. And of course, we went through the whole crypto thing, and oh my goodness. And I think we've kind of covered it. Basically, buy from a place that you trust, quarantine, or if you have a place that quarantines the fish or coral for you, then that's great. Pay attention to your parameters, and then pay attention to your fish. What else you got, Luce, that you think we should mention? Hi, Dan. Dan came in. Long time no see.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep. I'm curious, Dan. First of all, how are you? What are you doing?
Oh, I'm still just as mean and ornery as ever.
Yay. That's what I like to hear. And are you up to anything fun tonight? Anything new you want to tell us about anything?
No, I've just been trying to learn new stuff.
Oh, what are you researching?
Skydiving.
What? Skydiving?
Yeah, I discovered you can skydive without a parachute.
No, I'm feeling like this is a trick. What do you mean?
Well, you can do it. The only thing is, if you want to do it a second time, you better have the parachute.
Oh, okay. I knew it was a trick. I knew it. Nice. Okay. And are you not working tonight? Are you off?
Yeah, I've been home for almost the last 2 weeks.
Oh. Well, I don't want to ask anything personal over here, but I hope that things are on the mend or getting better or whatnot. But go ahead.
Steady at it.
Good. So what the topic I was trying to make tonight, and we've veered off many times, but I'm curious, have you gotten a lot more or a lot less? You know, have you noticed any difference in the number of people having problems with their seahorses lately? Like,
no.
So it's still just, and why do you think that is?
Well, I think what you see on message boards kind of skews the results overall. You know, I was talking to somebody else in the industry yesterday or the day before, I forget which now, but we were discussing how many people actually aren't on the message boards.
Right.
You know, we were talking about one of the wholesalers and the amount of seahorses they sold to stores, which is far and above what I sell and what another person sells. And, you know, most of those people, you know, they're just not on the board, so you don't see the same results. A lot of times people seek out the message boards or Facebook and places like that because they do have a problem.
That's what Lucy said earlier. Lucy said by the time they come and ask for help, it's the seahorse hasn't eaten for 2 days, or it's been, you know, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, quite often that's the case. I mean, occasionally you'll get somebody that will call that's early, but, you know, most of the time for me, it's an educational process when I get somebody that calls in, especially if it's not a customer. I mean, you know, I had an order this evening in which I asked my basic routine questions, and it turned into a half-hour educational session on how to modify their tank before they get the seahorses. So, you know, this was a person that wasn't, you know, on any of the groups.
Right.
So I think, you know, quite often what we see in the groups often skews the information. You know, for a long time, everybody believed that skimmers weren't good for seahorses because it caused gas bubble disease, and that was because everybody who had had the issue seemed to have a skimmer, and those that didn't have them didn't seem to have it. And that was just, too small of a sampling and not enough of a whole group to really see what's going on.
Right. No, I mean, that does make sense. Now, I'm just trying to think, when you do get those calls, what types of symptoms do they typically say that they're having? I mean, what are the main problems that you're seeing lately with people that are on the boards?
It's the same old stuff. Sometimes it's a seahorse in the inappropriate tank. Sometimes it's temperatures are too high. Sometimes it's they set up the tank based on what the store recommended with low flow and, those types of issues.
Yeah.
As far as symptoms go, it's all over the place. It's, from weak snick, doesn't eat, tail rot, bacterial infections, seahorse laying down. I mean, it's the same gas, not gas bubble as much, but more so with pouch emphysema.
I was going to say, I'll tell you what, in one of the groups, Rick Kavanaugh, if I said it incorrectly, I apologize, but he made a comment that nobody had troubles with gas bubble anymore because there was so much information out. We've learned so much, and people keep their tanks cleaner and keep skimmers and blah, 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 blah. And I thought, well, now I feel like crap because my seahorse has gas bubble, and so at the time, and so sometimes it's not. You're right. The sampling is too small to really say what's going on. But
I will say I don't get as many calls for gas bubble disease and pouch emphysema as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be much more rampant. Everybody dealt with it, and you don't see that in the help sections as often as we used to.
I mean, and that's a good thing, and that's a very good thing. Hey, I'm curious, Dan, what did you think about, I don't know if you had the opportunity to actually hear, but I have always wondered why Lucy tapped on the glass before she fed her seahorses. And she explained that she is literally conditioning them to associate the tapping on the glass with the feeding. Now, I did think that I had heard somewhere before that there was something else wrong with tapping on the glass, but I can't remember what it was. And what she said made perfect sense, that if you're teaching, you're training them, you're conditioning them to not be as stressed out by certain situations. So you think that's all good?
Yeah, I think it's fine. I used to do it myself.
Yeah, cool.
Well, I didn't tap on the glass. What I would do is take the fork that I used to feed with, and I would tap twice on the tank, and when they get used to it, as soon as you do that, they're heading towards the top looking for the food.
I think that's so cool. I mean, you guys are literally talking about training seahorses. That's so crazy. That's so cool. I love it.
Well, dishes. I mean, it's repetitive. It's instinct takes over. They associate a certain thing with something else, so they associate that tap with food coming in.
Right.
In my case, a lot of my tanks you can't see in the tank from the side.
Mm-hmm.
So the advantage of me doing it is they don't see me walking up to the tank. They just all of a sudden there's food there. By me tapping on the tank, they know that food's coming, and the glass tanks, they see us coming, they already know, hey, somebody's coming. There's food.
Well, and
that or somebody's going to be taken out.
Yeah, well, we won't go there, but yeah, no, and I think that's hi DMs Reef, hi to Al, if I said it wrong. Feel free to join if you want. We're just chit chatting about. Actually, I'm curious how that relates to the reef world. I'm curious if you guys have ever trained your fish to come when they're called, literally, because that is so cool. But it does go back to, in the seahorse, back to the seahorse part of the information, is that with seahorses, when you're buying captive bred, you're definitely buying seahorses that were trained to live in an aquarium. And, you guys are the breeders, so I wouldn't necessarily, tell every hobbyist to go around banging on their tanks. But it's a pretty cool idea to get them used to the situation. And like I know when I first started, I put my seahorse tanks in places where people would tell me that's not a good idea because it's a high traffic area and stuff. Heck, my erectus come rushing to the glass saying, do you got food? You know, do you have food? Where's my food? So anyways, all right. So when a seahorse does have a problem, Dan, what's your first go-to? I mean, obviously you have to learn the situation. You explained that you have to go through figuring out if it's just a case of whether they need a better setup or if things, fixing the situation. But if the seahorse is actually sick, do you recommend like pulling and quarantining and observing, or does it just totally depend on the situation?
Well, it depends upon the situation, first of all, because I get a lot of calls that there really isn't a problem with the seahorse, it's something else.
Right.
But if it's actually a sick seahorse, anytime that there's a question on what's going on with the seahorse, I recommend to immediately isolate. And that's for the protection of the other seahorses as much as it is for the benefit of the seahorse in question.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of the things, when it's bacterial, it's contagious. So the sooner the animal's removed from the group, the less chance you have of it passing around to the others.
Yes, no, agreed. Reef Spy said that Finding Nemo taught him banging on the glass was bad. Maybe that's what I'm remembering, but I'm going to go with Dan and Lucy are right. And Finding Nemo's wrong.
Well, there's a difference between banging and tapping.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's also different in a reef tank with some fast-moving fish that might be startled. You tap on a seahorse tank, the seahorses aren't going to immediately shoot across the tank into the side of the tank.
Right. Now, what fish would? I missed it. What did you just say? I'm sorry. I was reading and thinking at the same time. Can't do that. Can you repeat that?
What?
You said
on the tapping?
Yes, you said there's a difference
on
between
a reef
banging
tank with
and
some fast-moving fish. If you tap on the tank, you might startle a fish into crashing into something.
Oh, okay. Okay.
In a seahorse tank, you're usually not too concerned about the seahorse shooting across the tank and running into the wall.
Nice. Hey, DM's Reef, you got seahorses? Dan, did he get seahorses?
Could be, but I'm not sure what his real name is.
Well, he said, Dan, the black seahorses we got are nice. Oh, I think he's the one that's friends with someone you work with, or someone you work. Never mind. Okay, so yeah, so the obviously fast moving fish. That's another point too. We were talking about what could be a preventative measure. And obviously, you're discussing the fact that a lot of the people that call that aren't on the boards, they don't know the things that we talk about on the boards, and therefore they're making mistakes in setup, and they can be fixed and fix the seahorses. But I'm sorry, these comments are distracting me. I'm so sorry. But we're talking about like preventative and ways that you can prevent, and even some of the people that are on the groups and stuff aren't doing some of the preventative things. So what, aside from setting up properly, Lucy talked about feeding well, and we started talking about probiotics. Can the average person use probiotics? Do you want to tell us about them at all, or?
Sure they can.
And what do they do again?
Well, there's different stuff that's marketed. In the United States, the product that I found to be the best is the Sanolife, which is made by Inve. It's actually a commercial product, but they have a couple of different versions of it. There's one version that's very usable by the hobbyist. It's diluted enough that it can be used in regular sized tanks. Mm-hmm. And essentially the idea from probiotics for fish is the same as it is for people. You use good bacteria to outcompete the bad bacteria. And done properly, it can make a difference. But like most things that are preventative, it's hard to measure sometimes, because if you're not having a problem, you're wondering what good you're doing. It's the people that have had repetitive issues that started using probiotics and stopped having the issues that appreciate it the most.
I don't know. I mean, I think most people are coming around. Like a lot of the products, even in the reefing world too, are preventative these days. You know, people are getting it. That, I mean, I hope. But as you pointed out, some of these people aren't on the same. You know, don't have the same information available. But, I mean, I really think the probiotics are definitely a good thing as a preventative measure for sure. And I'm sorry, I keep skipping around because I keep seeing the comments. I need to turn those darn comments off while I'm streaming. But any other thoughts you have as to? We talked earlier about you know, how seahorses change colors, so that's not necessarily an indicator that they're sick. Do you have any thoughts? Do you have any experiences about when people thought that a seahorse was sick and like tried to throw medications at it and all this other stuff? And have you ever had a situation where the seahorse wasn't sick? Like I know you said pull it right away, but there have been plenty of times when I found out a day later that, you know, the seahorse it was pissed off at its sibling or a tank mate. Going back to preventative, the tank mates could stress out the seahorse, that kind of thing. Go ahead.
Well, one of the advantages of immediately isolating it gives you a better chance to observe the seahorse independently and be able to visualize it better depending upon the display setup. And quite often I'll have customers or people who call in for help, I'll ask them to isolate the seahorse and watch them for 24 hours and then speak with them the next day. Mm-hmm. I don't always throw medication at the animal. Sometimes sometimes it's hard to really diagnose what's going on, and a little bit more observation is more helpful. But sometimes too, you get things where they see a little white patch, and the white patch happens to be a color marking instead of a bacterial infection. You know, sometimes the seahorse will be acting funky, but seahorses sometimes are like 2-year-olds. If they can get in trouble, they will, and then sometimes they just do things to drive us nuts. And sometimes they'll pull antics, especially with new people. They're not used to the antics, and they think something's seriously wrong with the fish, when in reality it's just the seahorse being the seahorse. Mm-hmm. So I see many times where I don't necessarily recommend a treatment without further observation. I think we over-medicate most of the seahorses that are treated.
I would have to agree. And with what you're talking about, too, is if someone's not on the boards or whatnot and they don't get the same type of information, or they don't come to these streams, silly them, then they should really, the best bet is to call someone like you or to get on these streams or something like that. I just wish we could reach more people so that they could set up properly and so that they could, you know, avoid some of these problems, because it seems like prevention is so big.
Well, prevention is big, but when something is wrong, the nice thing is that when I talk on the phone with people, I get a complete history. I get to ask questions. I get to get immediate answers. And it's much more easy for me to drill down as to what's going on than on you know, message board or Facebook or anywhere else. And quite often the people I'm dealing with aren't on the message board. So in fact, it's easier for me because I don't have 10 other opinions to jump in and muddy the waters.
That's true. That's true.
But one of the advantages, though, of the message board or the forums and what have you is that if you're paying attention and you're looking through all the different threads and watching, you get somewhat educated, and sometimes you can handle things on your own. And sometimes it can also be detrimental because you think you understand what's going on and you handle it on your own, when in reality, if you knew a little bit more, you would have done it differently.
I can definitely say that's happened to me a time or two, for darn sure. Well, and I do agree with you. And as far as the drilling down the problem by talking to them, I do agree with that too. I get Lucy and I get a lot of messages on the SWS, and I bet Lucy gets very frustrated watching, because if somebody asks a question and I answer it, my answer is typically a question because I I can't answer just a, this. I don't know. What do you have? It totally depends. So I get it. But are there any other tips that we've kind of jumped around and covered everything, but are there any other tips that you have for people avoiding problems with seahorses or symptoms to watch for to see, that there is a problem or that kind of thing?
Well, I think the biggest thing is setting up the tank correctly. Assuming they have the temperature correct and assuming they have the proper flow and filtration and what have you. The next biggie is to feed properly, and that includes the amount that you feed as well as paying attention to what food you're buying that is good quality. It's not already gone rancid. And then routine maintenance. I mean, if you do those things and a little bit of luck, there's a lot of people that have had seahorses for years and never had a problem.
Yep.
Then again, there's people that have overstocked tanks or poor filtration or whatnot. And, sometimes it's something silly like a gravel substrate or something like that. Or, another common one that I hear people with canister filters, how much they rave about them, but I can't tell you how many calls I get where the last time they cleaned a canister filter was 3 months ago.
Yep.
So essentially just take it, if you're taking care of things properly, you're probably going to go through a long period of time without having issues. Now, keep in mind, when I say that, we're talking about the average hobbyist that has a 30 to 50 gallon tank with 2 to 4 seahorses.
Right.
Not somebody with 6 tanks that pushing the envelope. That's going to be a different scenario. And a lot of the people that we deal with, if you watch the message boards, a lot of the people on there are pushing the envelope.
Oh, yeah, really?
Well, I mean, look at how many people are overstocked, or they have multiple tanks, or they're trying to raise fry. I mean, all these things contribute to more opportunities for more things to happen.
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, I don't know.
And that's not to say that people don't have issues, but, there's a lot of people that have bought seahorses that, I've got people that call me up sometimes. I lost my seahorse. I want to get a replacement. I ask them a few questions, and they had they bought the seahorses 5 years ago.
Right.
So I don't know that there's a perfect answer, but the one thing I will say is the smart thing for each hobbyist to do is to find not necessarily a mentor, but somebody who they can rely on and go as a go-to person for when they have questions they can't answer themselves.
Yep.
Or somebody who's good with dealing with the seahorses that they can call upon that can help them.
And it's okay. We can now mention there's a Facebook group called Seahorses Group on Facebook that is excellent, run by Dan. And if you have appreciated the opinions and information that he shares on this stream, go join that group. Because he's there to answer questions and has some really cool things like question of the week. Is it question of the week or day? I'm messing myself up now. Is it week?
It's supposed to be question of the day, but I've been slack because of various reasons. But
stuff happens. My which would you choose is kind of taking a break too.
It's really 2 questions of the week is the way it's designed to be.
Gotcha. Okay, so 2 questions a week. But either way, you get to see some of these questions. You can see the answers. He lists them all on his website, so you can go follow up and see what he said about them, see what other people said. Keep in mind, of course, again, that you're getting the responses of multiple people, so, take it with a grain of salt. And that's, just kind of touching on that really quickly. What would you suggest for someone? Like, my suggestion is always, as you were saying, to pay attention to how long they've been doing things and the advice that they give and how long they've been in production or whatever, as far as who to take advice from. But have you found any way around the troubles that in the forum whereas other people are jumping in with thoughts that aren't proper?
Um, I, I don't have too much of that issue myself because most people, when I jump in, most other people back off.
You big bully. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's just that I've been around for so long that, and based on reputation, most people will have a tendency to let me take over, if you will.
Right.
I do find cases where people have given wrong information, and I try to be as diplomatic as possible and encourage them to go a different direction. Where I usually see a problem is where they go onto a board and they post it, and you got 8 people chiming in on, what to do, and it's all 8 different things, and that can be really confusing for the person that's having the issue. The other thing I'll say is if you start a topic with a sick seahorse or one that you're having a problem with, and instead of starting a new topic each time you want to do an update, continue with the original topic so that anybody that comes in to help can easily see the history of what's been going on, and they'll be more helpful that way instead of trying to dig and find the previous posts.
Or somebody giving advice based on the new information without knowing the old. I mean, that makes total sense. I get it, because I've seen that happen myself.
I also find it frustrating when somebody posts for help on about 6 different places, and they're, there's different information on each of the 6 different posts.
Yep. And that's I personally get frustrated when I see some of the posts because I've asked multiple people. In fact, I asked Felicia, who I had hoped would come tonight. If you see this, Felicia, if you happen to be watching, I hope you come in sometime. But she's starting to do videos too, and hopefully we'll get her up in here soon. But I have asked her multiple times, how can you stand to sit back and watch these comments and these posts where people jump in, give the advice, it's wrong, or they don't even know what the situation is, and I'll come in and I'll say, wait, can we find out how big the tank is? How could we ever say what's wrong without knowing the details? And so I totally get what you're saying about at least staying on the same topic so that someone could go back and see. I know I get tagged a lot too on posts, and I have to go back and look, and if there's not a history, I have no idea what they're talking about half the time. So I'm totally with you. Go ahead.
Yeah, it gets frustrating for me when I'm coming in late on something and there's already 6 other posts further down where they've been discussing the same thing, and it's just much easier if they just keep it under one topic and keep it chronological as to what's going on.
Sure.
And it's also more educational for other people that come in browsing and reading stuff because they see the whole sequence of events.
Yeah, I'm kind of back and forth on what's the right thing with all of that, because I know that even going outside of keeping seahorses or keeping reef tanks, there's just so much information and everybody can be an expert now. It's pretty scary. But you typically can tell if you take the time to look. And most things are pretty logical. I mean, like as far as with seahorse specific, if you're talking about the temperature and if you're talking about those kind of things, yeah, you've got to listen to somebody who has some knowledge. But when it comes to basic, do a water change or isolate the seahorse, I would think that everybody would get that, but I don't know.
I still see very experienced people that don't do it.
Yeah. And actually, an interesting thing is I was on Reef Dude's stream right before I got on this one, and they were talking about how they don't rinse frozen foods in a reef tank. And the reason being, and they were being very logical, the reason being is that they have coral that appreciate the little bits that come off, and all that extra nutrients feeds the coral. But in a seahorse tank, it's a complete different situation. So it's also kind kind of scary because it really depends on the situation. Everything depends on the situation, you know? So.
Well, it does. And experience is helpful, but experience is also, you know, I find that I have people who've never had a tank before or never had a reef tank before. Generally, I have less problems with them setting up a Seahorse tank and going forward.
Really?
I find a lot of reefers, I run into problems because they don't ask certain questions. They assume they know the answer because of the experience with the reef tank. And, you know, just like you said, but the feeding's just one of the examples. But, you know, I get a reefer that calls me up. He's got his tank all ready, and he's got, you know, all kinds of equipment on the tank that really, he doesn't need, you know, the calc doser and this and that and the other and all these other different things on there the way he does for a reef tank.
Right.
And then, of course, you got the people that want to put the Seahorse in the reef tank.
Yeah.
You know, it's the nice thing is about the newbies for me is that they ask everything. Where I find a lot of times with reefers, I have to be careful and make sure that they understand certain points. And even then, you know, I get a lot of, yeah, okay, and they still do it the way they're going to do it.
Looks like Seahorse Source just got a new, Seahorse Source group just got a new request. Maybe it came from the stream, we never know. But anyhow, yeah, absolutely. I do agree. It's like that in life too. When you get somebody who's experienced with something, it's harder to teach them anything. I would have to agree with that. But
it's not always that way, but I just see it a lot.
Yeah. Do you think that we did, you know, part of the problem too is that things flip-flop so often. For instance, you know, we say preventative measures, you know, will keep you from having 6 seahorses. Setting up properly will keep you from having 6 seahorses. But then we turn around and say, you know, we've got Lucy and tapping on glass, talking about conditioning, so they're not so stressed out. So, I don't know. It flip flops a lot. Do you know what I mean? Does that even make sense?
Well, the thing you have to remember is that always and never are 2 words that we should probably eliminate from the hobby.
Right.
You know, if you read through anybody that writes a basic aquarium book, they'll tell you never ever use soap. And yet I use soap all the time with different things for cleaning.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, the fear is that the new person will, you know, scrub the tank out with soap and not rinse it well and kill the fish. Yeah. The tapping on the glass is definitely appropriate in a reef tank situation, but it's different in a seahorse tank. So there's a lot of different setups, and the hobby has shifted. You know, I think back when one of my relatives had a saltwater tank when I was a kid, and this would be going back into the early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
You know, things were much, much different then. They weren't keeping things like we are today. You know, there's a lot more seahorses with octopuses and, you know, other more exotic creatures for, you know, species only or specific type tank setups.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nobody had a jellyfish tank back then.
Right.
You know, so the rules change a little bit for different types of setups. So it's not always a hard, fast rule with each species, with each tank.
Right. Well, certainly. And as we learn, we grow. And as we figure things out, we can do more. Do you think that do you think that it will ever get to a point where seahorses can be conditioned to, you know, people already are putting them in reef tanks. So do you think they'll ever be in a situation where captive bred seahorses can be conditioned to live in a reef? In that temperature, no?
I don't see it.
Okay. I just wonder.
I'm not going to say it can't happen. Remember, always and never. But
right.
I just don't. I don't see it. They do so much better with the proper in a seahorse specific type setup.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other you know, octopus and everything that they do too. You know, jellyfish, and I don't think you can put anything else with jellyfish, can you? So.
No, that's where the chrysal tanks were first developed for jellyfish.
Mm-hmm. So, Yeah. I mean, if you have a desire to keep those certain things, then do it right, I guess is the bottom line. But I really only put a topic out there to please Ray, and then Ray went and watched his soccer game, or what? It's not soccer. What is it? Whatever it is. He went and watched his game anyway. So, is there anything else you wanted to chit chat about, or anything?
No, I have to agree with Reese. I tell that to my customers all the time, is that the forums are full of parrots. There's a tremendous amount of people that will watch the stuff, and then when they see somebody else has something they think is the same thing, and then just repeat doing what they were told to do with something else when it's not necessarily appropriate. There's a lot of people that are very helpful, but they're, when you were talking about all the experts, a lot of these so-called experts are nothing more than parrots.
Well, you know what though? I mean, we're not going to go much longer because I'm going to start mouthing and I'm going to get myself in trouble. But the bottom line is that even the experts are, even the experts change their minds constantly. You know what I'm saying? And I don't mean expert like you. You have experience expertise. To me, that's different. When you're talking about the scientist experts, they change their tune all the time. I mean, that's how it's supposed to be. I'm not putting them down. It's supposed to be build upon the information, learn more, build upon that information. It's supposed to grow. But the problem, at least in my personal shoes, because I try to relate the experience and the expert stuff to the new person or to the, less experienced person, via website or whatnot, it's just difficult because I don't want to ever look like a parrot. Do you know what I mean? I can say my own experiences. I can share what I know. Definitely, absolutely works. I can share, what I believe is truth. And if I change my mind, I'm sorry, but it's because I learned something. But and these days you've got. I watched a stream the other day on YouTube where you've got these literal YouTubers who have tremendous experience, no doubt about it. But you'll listen to one stream and they give a completely different way of doing things or way of thinking about things than another stream, and both are just as popular. Neither are true experts as far as biology and science. And it just gets really, I'm a little bit worried about the world in general because who is right anymore? How can you even tell? I don't know. I know that was rambling, but, ugh.
Well, the internet has changed things. The problem with the internet is that anybody can become an authority, if you will.
Yeah.
And old information doesn't disappear. It used to be when you had books, you pull out the textbook, you look at when it was published and if there was a newer version of it, because the newer version would have more updated information. And the old information would just disappear. You wouldn't be reading it. Internet, you go research something and you find out that the information you're reading is 15 years old and doesn't really apply. Things have changed since then.
I know, but sadly, getting way off topic kind of, but if you're just talking about strictly Google, Google looks at what's had the most hits or how many pings, whatever. And the bottom line is if something's really old, it's had the most. Or if somebody's really popular, it's had the most. So that doesn't necessarily mean they're right. So it's just,
I have problems with all the different
algorithms
Google, Bing,
and
Facebook, etc. The way they do business.
Yeah. So
I know what the correct answer is there, but I'm not happy with any of them.
Right. Well, so the answer is, if you want to talk about seahorses, come on here and go join Seahorse Source Group, and there you go. Then you'll be good. That's the answer. Just kidding. But all right. Anything else we need to chit chat about? I was looking through the comments. Salty Reef, if you're still watching, I'm curious because I haven't kept up, I'm sorry, but I know you were setting up the seahorse tank. Don't know what happened with that. Now you say you're restarting your reef tank. Let's hear about it. Al said, and someone say Google. Yes, I said Google. Why? And let's see. Keep it cool and you'll be fine. I can't follow. Lucy, is there anything I missed in the comments? Or are we good? Did you take care of everything? You always do, I'm sure. So, Dan, you've never kept a reef tank, have you?
No.
Wow. That's so cool. I mean, I just think it's cool that you've only done seahorses. That's really neat to me.
Well, I will say during one summer, well, when I was a kid, I had a freshwater tank, but one summer, when I first moved to Massachusetts, we had a cottage on the river, and I set up a 55-gallon tank in a cottage, and for about 3 years, each summer, we would go out into the river with nets and with traps and whatever we could find in the river, we put in the tank to watch, and that was kind of cool. Still didn't know anything about tanks at that point. We just took water from the river, put it in the tank, and every so often we'd change some of the water, and sometimes we put stuff in there and it was really cool, and sometimes something ate something. You know, we were learning what was in the waterways there, so it was kind of cool. It wasn't a reef tank, but it was kind of a cool tank. That's the closest I've ever come to a reef tank. Everything else has been seahorse.
Gotcha. Well, Salty Reef, I'm curious why your seahorse tank's on hold. And actually, please tell me if I'm... Is it Al? Is that what you want to be referred to? A-L, Al, whatever. I hate trying to read in the comments. But, yes, I did say Google. And you may have been the one that I heard talking. Because the stream that I was referring to earlier is a stream in which a bunch of YouTubers were discussing putting together a website where... sources could go to find people to promote their specific niche products. And I thought, and I watched the stream and I thought it was a great idea, but then I thought, how would you qualify the people that are giving that advice or giving the product reviews? Because anybody can do it these days. It's just it's kind of scary, really, to me personally, because oh, anything. So I'm supposed to call you anything? I'm going to start calling you anything. Literally. But okay. Anyways, so that's what I was referring to with the Google thing. And now, you know, I don't know. It's just scary. Because I do, when you have a passion for something, like we're all passionate here, I don't think that anybody ever puts out bad information. I really don't. Like, I don't think anybody ever does a video or, you know, tries to give false information. There's trolls, of course, but typically people are trying to help, but without some sort of true knowledge backing, or I don't know, because anymore people will go watch a YouTube video before they'll go listen to a scientific speech, you know. So it's just kind of scary to me. But oh, it was not you. I've heard this idea pop up multiple times. Yeah. Go on, Dan.
Not everybody goes to YouTube to see a review. I can tell you, when I'm researching something, if there's a review on YouTube, I'll usually look at a couple of those, but I'll also try to dig into various forums where people discuss it. And quite often, what you'll see in a forum is 2 or 3 people who have no clue combined with 2 or 3 people who have a lot of experience giving their input. And or in some cases, you know, like on Amazon, you know, if you read through enough of the reviews, you get a sense of what a product is or isn't.
No, I agree. It's just, you know, go ahead.
You know, the day with YouTube, you know, I mean, Christ, today, I mean, you can go to YouTube and figure out how to do an appendectomy on somebody.
Yeah.
You know, it's handy. I went to my mechanic, but I had to have my truck fixed, and there was a little part on there that I thought I was going to have to replace. It was a cable, and I thought I was going to have to replace the cable. He says that might be fixable, and he knew it could be done, but he didn't know how to do it. So my mechanic pulled up a YouTube video on how to do it so he could fix it.
Yeah. I mean, I hear you. I do hear you. And that's why I want to start. That's one of my goals for the channel too, is to start getting more of the Al or anything, whatever we're calling him today. It said it's unfortunate there's so much good research data out there. There really is. I'll give you a little tidbit based on the people I've been talking to the last week, the actual scientists, not putting down anybody else. I'm just saying the people that are out there actually diving and looking at the seahorses in the ocean and trying to quantify them and see where they are, their status and things like that. I got a really good definition for what the true overall problem is, and how to explain that they're not necessarily going extinct. It's just that we need more people doing actual research instead of doing, I'll stop there. But the bottom line is the people that are out there doing this research, they are trying to get the facts known, and then once they are, we'll have a better outlook, and it won't be so much confusion, if that makes sense. It's just confusing while they're trying to figure things out, and when you've got a bunch of people saying that things that aren't true, it just gets all mixed up. I don't know. I'm trying to say things and not say things, so I'm going to stop.
Well, that's because certain people have agendas.
Yes, that's what it is. That's what it is, and it's a darn shame, but it's the world. It is what it is. So, anyways, I did not mean to get off on that way crazy topic. I apologize. Was there anything else you had to say? I was hoping some reef people would join about sick reef fish, too. I'd love to have a big crypto debate, but now it's getting late, so not now. But what were you going to say, Dan? Were you going to say something else?
No.
Nope. Staying away from that one, huh?
Yeah, I haven't done much troubleshooting with reef tanks.
Yeah. Well, it's fine. It's no biggie. But, okay, well, Lucy, did you have anything else? Because I'm going to go ahead and shut her down for tonight. I think we'll try to... I know Ray wants a topic every week, but when we have a topic, I feel obligated to keep going back to it. And so maybe we'll go back to either open chat or guest, because I don't want to keep trying to force a subject when we're trying to talk, like watch your seahorses. I don't want to keep going back to something. So, but did you have anything else you wanted to share or say or ask? No.
I was reading AL's last comment.
Oh. No.
You okay, Luz? Well, I know she's got a sick baby, so I won't keep bugging. But thanks for coming in and hanging out with me and sharing with me and sharing how the juveniles are doing. They might possibly be up for sale soon, guys. So keep an eye out.
Yeah.
Lucy, you're echoing a little. What'd you say? I lost her again. Okay. Well, anyways, we'll hear more from Lucy. And, of course, you can always hit her up at the Seahorse Whisperer Society on Facebook. She is on Messenger answering, and, of course, on her page answering. And what did he say, Dan? You were reading the last comment?
Yeah, Al was saying that there's 100 ways to do something, and that's true. There is no one set way to do anything in this hobby, and that's part of the fun of it, is that there are different approaches and different ways to do many different things in this hobby.
Yes, and when you're talking reef tank, I couldn't agree more. Part of the fun is learning, and part of the fun is figuring something out, because that's that amazing feeling when you do figure it out and you do, get things right is really great. But just with seahorses, it's a little more risky to be so loose with it. So I want to say very clearly that I very much appreciate Dan and Lucy, you both bringing your experience and your opinions and help to the channel and making sure that you share all of this good information for anybody who was watching or watches later. If you guys have any questions or any topics you want us to talk about or want to join open chat, just, send us a quick message. We're going to get the website finished, get things going, and then we'll have more schemed live streams. It's coming, I promise. But anyways, glad nobody's having any trouble with their fish and didn't have any questions tonight. Glad to hear it. And with that, guys, I'm gonna say goodnight if you got nothing more. Dan, you good?
I'm good.
All right. Well, thank everybody who came and chatted with us. And we'll be back next Wednesday. I'll announce either guest or open chat much sooner. And thank you for coming. Happy Wine Wednesday. Say bye, guys. Say bye, Dan. I'm pausing.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Cheers. Okay.